So, Michael, tell us a little bit about surface technology. I know you all are sort of a hybrid of a finishing operation. You're a research facility. You're a distributor. You make products. Tell us all about what you all do there.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, we are unique in the electroless nickel world and the plating world because we have multiple activities, but all focused on electroless nickel. We're not involved in any other type of coatings or processes. It's all based on electroless nickel and also specializing in composite electroless nickel. And we've been in business now for 51 years and going
Mhm.
strong. And we've achieved the level of competency in electroless nickel because we're a plating shop and we've been a
Mhm.
plating shop for decades, day in and day out, coating customer parts. Actually, about 50% of the parts we coat are from outside the United States. So there's a lot of
Mm.
critical application parts are sent to us for our coatings and sent back. And all of the work that we do in our facility is done with chemicals that we manufacture in-house. We've always made our own line of electroless nickel chemicals, and part of our business has always been selling those to other shops directly or through distributors around the world. And the reason that we had to do that was because as pioneers in composite electroless nickel, with
Mhm.
Teflon, with diamond, boron nitride, silicon carbide, and other unique versions, we couldn't just buy off the shelf electroless nickel
Right.
solutions from other suppliers. They weren't properly adapted to work for composites, which have certain technical challenges. So we established our own formulations for those, but also our own conventional electroless nickel formulations. So we've been involved in the industry in these ways for many decades. Also, as you mentioned, Tim, a lot of research and development goes on here,
Mhm.
both for improvements that we recognize the benefit to and needs for, but also customer driven. When customers come to us
Mhm.
and they need a different performance, a different type of coating, some very unique feature, we're happy to do contract research and development. If I may, just one other quick note about
Mhm.
our company and the facility. We've gotten awards for the environmental protection aspects of our facility. It is completely solar powered with 860 solar panels on the roof,
Mm.
zero discharge of any liquids to the sewer here, recirculating of water. And I could go on and on and on about the facility. We're very proud of it and
Great.
what we're able to accomplish from this site.
Well, that's great. Yeah, like I said, a lot of it's funny. It's funny. I tell people all the time. Some of the most ecological conscious people are in the finishing industry. They know science and they know what it's all about. But talking about the research and development. So you all have a product, One Plate, sort of very revolutionary for the electric nickel market. Tell us about One Plate and all that it does.
So very happy to talk to you about One Plate today because you were one of the first people that recognized it as a true
Hmm.
breakthrough, as something that was really innovative years ago when we developed it. And it was, I think one of the things that's important to describe about it is not what's unique about it, but what's standard about it. And that is the
Hmm.
coating is just electroless nickel. Low,
Hmm.
medium, or high phosphorus. You can't distinguish the coating that comes from a one plate bath or from a conventional bath made with three components. And that's really important because um, the industry requires the coatings to remain consistent with same
Hmm.
hardness, same corrosion resistance, same
Sure.
appearance, same stress, all of those features. So the coating is just electroless nickel. Now it's very
Hmm.
consistent, high quality electroless nickel that comes from the process, but it's the process that's unique because instead of the three components that the industry has typically used, and we used in our plating shop, and we sold to others around the world for decades, to make up a bath and replenish it over its lifetime, it's one single component. You make up the bath with
Hmm.
this one component and water, and you replenish with that exact same component until the end of the bath life. So it's um, the innovation is in the process, and it really solves problems that most shops didn't even know they have. And an
Right.
example that I've mentioned before is a remote control for a TV. When I was a kid and I wanted to change the channel on the TV, I got up, I walked over to the
Hmm.
TV, I changed the channel, and I sat back down. If I wanted to change the volume, I got up, I changed the volume, and I sat back down. That wasn't a problem. That's just the way you
Right.
watched TV. When someone invented the remote control, I realized I had a problem I didn't even recognize that I had. And that's what one plate does. It solves problems that people didn't know that they had. Their shortcomings in the typical approach of
Right.
using three components, A, B, and C, for electroless nickel, that people just assume that's inherent in the process, but it doesn't have to be. And we, because we're a plating shop, we saw those deficiencies and we thought, well, maybe there's a better way. And we worked for years to develop a process that would overcome them.
Right. Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like you said, it's sometimes you don't know that there's something out there better if you're so much used to it. So for end users, like I said, I know it's you've tried to simplify the process while remaining the very high quality. What are the benefits that end users are going to get out of using one plate?
Yeah, simplicity is not so much a benefit by itself, it's what that simplicity does for the plating shop. And I think some of the most important ones are one plate as a single component. It avoids mistakes in a plating shop, and it's
Hmm.
mistakes big and small. A small one, for example, is that a shop goes to make up a new bath and they thought that they had a full drum of the makeup component and they have 3 gallons left in the drum and they're out of
Right.
business for a day or two or more, depending on what the supply
Hmm.
chain looks like, to get them a new drum. Doesn't happen with one plate because all they need to keep in stock is the one component that they use for either makeup or replenishment. It can be big mistakes like using the wrong component. It's been years since I've gotten a call that I would routinely get, which is, Michael, we made up a bath by accident with A and C, not A and B, the makeup component. What can we do? And sorry, there's nothing you can do at that point.
Right.
You have to dispose of it and start fresh. So there's big mistakes like that, but there's also more subtle mistakes, such as, even though our formulations and other companies make the replenishment formulations to be as simple as possible, having an add back ratio of 1 to 1, for example, if you have to add 4 gallons of the A and 4 gallons of C, it's often not exactly 4 gallons and 4 gallons. It might be
Right.
slightly off, a little more, a little
Hmm.
bit less. Those differences are not going to show up immediately. If they put in 4.2 gallons and 3.8 gallons, it's not going to cause rejects, but cumulative over time, it can affect the brightness, it can affect the stability of the bath, it can affect the plating rate, it can affect the life of the bath. So it's a small difference that makes a big impact. And
Mm.
by keeping a single component with all the functional ingredients in that one product, the bath stays consistent over its whole life. The
Mm.
nickel concentration, the hypophosphate concentration, the stabilizers, the brighteners, everything that goes into it, because it's more consistent, um, shops are reporting longer bath lives than they had before, which means less waste. And the
Mm.
longer the bath goes and the less waste is, obviously it's a savings in money, but it's also convenient not to have to change out the bath
Right.
any more frequently than necessary. The
Right.
simplicity also has an effect, Tim, where because you're only adding one component, you can either add it easier during the course of the plating cycle or sooner after the part comes out and reduce the idle time between one load of parts and the next load of parts. Time is money, time is labor, time is energy. And
Right.
aside from all of those factors, a plating bath, whether it's one plate or an old fashioned 3 component bath, doesn't want to be left hot and idle. It wants to plate on something. And if you're not giving it parts,
Right.
it can start plating on things you don't want it plating on. And the shorter that time is, thanks to a single component add back, then
Mhm.
that can really help with longer term bath stability and life. And, one of the best things about it is happier platers. And we did a
Right.
survey of shops around the world that are using it. And 25 out of 25 shops that we surveyed had converted over to one plate, reported their platers are happier, in addition to a lot of other benefits that I
Right. Mhm.
reported on at an electroless nickel conference. Happier platers. And that's something that I don't think has ever been said before in the industry, is how do you make the platers happier? And they
Right.
deserve it because it's hard work. And I did it myself for many, many years on our plating lines. But happier platers lead to higher quality, more productivity, and something that we're hearing a lot from our customers now, which they really appreciate, is happier platers means longer retention of their platers. and
Right.
it's hard enough to find qualified people. So giving them something that's simpler and easier to use makes them happier and makes them stay longer.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, if anything with that, remove the frustration with that. So it's this has been around. I know for maybe about 10 years or so. It's been tested. So this is not
Mhm.
something that's just right off the brand new there. But how's the electric nickel industry, adopted one plate, as a product and such. Like I said, it's been around for almost a decade now. It's got a lot of people using it. So how
Yeah.
has that industry? How's the industry taken to it?
It's actually been fun. It's and
Hmm.
I can't say in the old days of selling three component electroless nickel that was, pretty comparable to every other, good
Hmm.
quality three components in the industry. Selling one plate is actually fun because it is something different and people really understand the difference that it will make, the simplicity, but also what that leads to in terms of quality and cost savings and so on. So I'm enjoying bringing this to the industry. We have a much wider number of distributors around the world, and we're
Hmm.
looking for more to bring this, to additional shops. It's easier for them because it's an easier sell because shops appreciate a single component, but it's just one product, low, medium, or high phosphorus that they have to stock and ship. So it's easier for distributors as well. And this, in a nutshell, has gotten us to having one plate now in 31 countries and counting.
Wow.
By the end of the month, I'm thinking it should be 33 based on some trials that are going on, but 31 countries around the world that are using it. Tanks as big as 4,000 gallons are using it, and every variety that you could imagine. Automated lines, manual lines,
Hmm.
coating on steel, on aluminum, on stainless steel, titanium, even plating on plastic, on brass, bronze, and other copper alloys. So there hasn't been an application where it hasn't been useful. And when you're in this many shops, after these number of years, as you mentioned, it's seen everything: high loading, low loading, people using tap water, people using DI water, all the different procedures that go on, and it's working well in all of those, in racks, barrels, everything that you could imagine, and people truly report less problems. In fact, I'd say that almost all the problems that shops have now with one plate in their shop is normal plating shop problems, not things related to the bath itself. And that's
Right.
really gratifying. So we're happy and our distributors are happy to field the phone calls and the emails and the visits where we're helping them on a broader way, not having to be in the nitty gritty of just analyzing the bath and so on, because the bath stays more consistent. There's been a couple of instances where somehow shops have gotten the bath out of balance. There was one shop that was replenishing it by accident with a drum of just nickel sulfate. It was a green
Mm.
liquid, just like one plate's a green liquid. So the nickel was really high. The hypophosphite got down to 17% of the
Mm.
concentration it was supposed to be. And the shop called and said, "Hey, our bath, it's working. It's working fine, but it's just a little on the slow side. Can you analyze the sample?" We analyzed the sample and saw it was 17%. Couldn't figure out how it got that low. They told us what had happened, that they were just adding nickel sulfate.
Mm.
And we were able to give them a hypophosphite solution and an additional package to just bring the bath back up to 100%, and everything was running fine. And I think that's an example, just like giving shops that do super high loading in barrels, sometimes we'll give them additional stabilizer solution that they can add over the side. But these are a handful of cases from around the world, but it's still important because shops want to know that they can control the bath. And I think one of the important things is letting shops know that it's easier to control a one plate bath should something go wrong, because you can add individual ingredients compared to a three component bath. If in that example it was low on hypophosphite, the traditional remedy would be add more of the C component. That would raise the
Mm.
hypophosphite, but it would also add more complexers and it
Right.
would also add more stabilizers. So we like to say, what would you rather have? A car that's easy to fix or a car that's not going to break down as often? And one plate is the car that won't break down as often, so you shouldn't have to fix it.